about your mom and dad?
Okay. My mom's maiden name was Maisto, and she had 4 sisters, 2 brothers. Her father's name was Joseph. Her mother's name was Teresa. And Teresa and Joseph came here from Italy.
Mm-hmm.
They were the Napoleon. And that was, to the Italians, more of the higher
So they were a little more well-to-do.
and my dad, Andrew Bilgren,
Mm-hmm.
His family came over from Denmark. His parents were Alfred Bilgren and Gerda Bilgren. Gerda's family was actually more from Sweden, but then of course she moved with Alfred when they got married to Denmark. Alfred came over to the States first to check things out, and then he called for his family to come. It was strange because they did not move into the Swedish part of town. They settled on Victoria Avenue with the Italians and got along just fine.
Yep.
And Grandpa Bilgren was a wonderful wood carver.
Mm-hmm.
He worked on Harrison Street for a man for many years. And Gerda never worked outside the home. She had 6 children, my dad being the oldest. And Dad had a hard time when he came to this country.
Mm-hmm.
He was 12 or 13, and had, as I say, a really hard time. But a man, it was a student at school, helped him. He was Italian, and he took my dad under his wing, and they became best friends. And so Dad became Danish/Italian. And yeah, and so as he got older, he got a job at National Worsted Mills, and that's where he met my mother when my mother's machine broke down. And he was a very talkative person, and she got kind of sick and tired of him talking so much. She said to herself, I wish that my machine would get fixed so that he would just leave. But then he came back one day and he asked her if she would like to go for a ride around the lake. His friend had a car, and this friend had a girlfriend, and he said that he could drive them around the lake with his car. They could have the rumba seat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mother said, well, you'd have to ask permission from my father. That was Joseph Maisto.
Mm-hmm.
And so Andy went to ask Joseph if he could take Queenie out for a ride around the lake with his friend. And he tried to tell Grandpa what this was all about, and Grandpa just couldn't really understand, and he said, you want to play with my daughter? No. And no, Pa, no. We're just going to go around the lake in the rumba seat that his friend has. Oh, okay. That was an okay. He could go. And that started their dating, and then they got married the next October.
Mm-hmm.
And I came along a year after, and then let's see, about 7 years after that, my sister Nancy was born, and then about 4 years after Nancy, my brother Edward was born. That was our family.
And where did you live growing up?
We lived in different homes because my dad liked to fix up homes and then sell them. There was a home on Allen Street. Then there was a home that my dad bought on Westcott Street. And he fixed that up very nice. But he sold it too early. We didn't have any place to live. So they had to go and ask Grandpa Joseph Maisto if we could move in with him for a while. He was a widower at that time. My mother's mother died when my mother was only 9 years old. Mm. And Grandpa never remarried. And he gave permission for my father, my mother, me, and my sister Nancy to move in with him. And also, I would say, an old maid aunt of my mother. She was my mother's oldest sister. She lived with Grandpa, and so we moved in with them, and that was just a wonderful thing for me, because we moved in next to my Uncle John and Aunt Jaconda, and they had 3 children, 2 children at that time.
What was his last name?
Palladino.
Okay.
My uncle was John Palladino, the chief of Jamestown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was just a wonderful time. I was so happy to live with my grandpa and my aunt and live next door to Uncle John and his wife. They called her Chick instead of Jaconda.
Yep.
And my cousin was Concetta. And then they had a son named after John. Mm-hmm.
I went to school with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was my early life. I had gone to Willard Street School when I lived on Westcott, and when we moved with Grandpa, I went to East Jamestown School. And that was kind of a distance to go to school. We lived on Carolina Street. That was off of Buffalo Street, mm-hmm. almost to Buffalo Street Extension. And then the school being way down on the east side there.
Wow, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we were lucky. If we hurried and got up there to, I can't remember the name of the street that goes crossways from Carolina. We could go to a neighbor who worked by the school, and we could get a ride from her. That was a great thing. We didn't have to walk all that way or take our bicycles. It was a wonderful time. It isn't like it is now that you have to have so much material things. You had family getting together. You had big dinners, a lot of people around the table. I learned how my grandpa made wine, and they would deliver the wine. We'd get so excited, and you could not touch one grape. No. They all went for making wine, and then it would go down the basement, and we'd all look. And he had the wine press down there. And Uncle Tony Trinello, he'd come because he was one of the winemakers. Uncle John Palladino, he was one of the winemakers to help Grandpa. All the men tried to get into it. Women were not allowed. Children were not allowed. But then Grandpa always would have wine at his dinners. And when dinner was over, he'd tell me, you sit. You don't have to go in the kitchen and help with the dishes. You sit with me. And he'd pour me a little glass of his homemade wine. And he would try to tell me about Italy. And then he brought some things over from Italy, and one was to have a magic show. And he showed me all the different things that he had for the magic show. And I thought to myself, I wonder if he would let me borrow that, and I could have a magic show for the children, from all the kids in the neighborhood. And I was always thinking of how to make money, even at my early age. And my Aunt Chick she'd always tease me about that. And so he said, yes, I could do that. And I could have the magic show in the backyard. And I did, and it was a big success, Greg.
Oh my gosh. Did you have a name for your show?
No, I never really thought of that. I just said, come to my magic show. And they were really surprised. They thought I was a really good magician, you know.
That's fabulous.
And yeah, and they had to pay me 10 cents.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I made a grand total of 60 cents. There was
a lot of money there.
6 kids came, yeah. So that was my first money-making. Also a thing that was really a lot of fun is to have our sleds and slide down Carolina Street.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing was in the summertime to play hide and seek.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a lot of toys or anything like that. We just had the sleds. And if you didn't have a sled, you shared. I was lucky. My dad bought me a sled. And there was just nice people in that neighborhood. And then my dad finally bought a house, and we moved from Grandpa's, and the house was on Newland.
Mm-hmm.
My mom thought she was living in royalty.
Mm-hmm.
She told my dad, you are not to just fix up this house and move again. This is the house I want to stay in. And we did. And then my brother was born. And he became my buddy.
That's Ed?
My brother Edward. My mom went back to work because she wanted to furnish the house.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted more furniture than she had from Westcott Street. And my dad was a little upset about that. He didn't think she should have to go to work, but she was pretty, you know, she really wanted to do that, and she did. So and he was okay with that when he saw that she bought the dining room set. He thought that was pretty neat. So, yeah, and so she worked nights, and Dad belonged to the Moose Club, so he went there at night, and I was in charge of Edward.
There you go.
Yeah, and
She was traffic control even at an early age. I like that.
Mm-hmm. So he would follow me, and do whatever I did, and I was going with Sam Nailbone at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere that we went, Edward would be in the middle of us. And one night, Sam came up to the house and he said, "Do you think we could ditch your brother for one time?" And I go, "Oh, I don't think that would be very nice." And he said, "Well, we won't be long. Maybe an hour. We'll just go for a ride or something, go get ice cream." I said, "Ed," I said, "we're just going for a ride. So will you sit in Dad's big chair and watch TV?" I said, "And we'll be back." "Oh, okay." Well, we did come back in an hour, and there he was crying. And he said, "I didn't like being alone. Don't ever do that to me again."
It's exactly what Sam wanted to hear. Yeah.
So, we're still buddies. My brother and I are very close. And him and his wife just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary.
He's a teacher, wasn't he? Was that a teacher?
No, Ed worked at Faulkner Plate and Glass.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he is now working at as a maintenance man at Social Services on 4th Street.
Mm-hmm.
He could retire. He's retirement age, but I don't think he'll ever really retire.
So to continue your schooling, you went to Jamestown High School?
I went to Jamestown High School.
Yeah.
I went to Lincoln
Lincoln
Junior High.
And then Jamestown High School, and you graduated in a class?
1958.
1958.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened after that? You graduated from Jamestown High School?
Then I decided that I want, let's see, I worked at J.C. Penney. And then I decided I wanted to get a full-time job, so I applied at Beneficial Finance.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that job. Very nice and very nice people. And Mr. Bartlett was the manager. And I worked there, and then I got married to Sam Nailbone, and he had a job in Buffalo, so of course we moved to Buffalo, or I moved with him to Buffalo, and they transferred me to Beneficial in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And then, lo and behold, I got pregnant for my son Philip, and we moved. After he was born, we moved back to Jamestown, be more closer to family.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I still worked, and it's about it.
Well, no, we aren't even at WJTN yet. How did that happen? I mean, you are WJTN. There's other people that we'll talk about soon, but
Mm-hmm. I worked part-time when the kids were small.
and the kids were, aside from Phil, were there other?
Thomas, Phil was born in 1961.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas was born in 64. And then I had my daughter Annette, 66. And I thought that, well, I was working for the Demises. They had a restaurant down at the square. And
Lou Demas.
Lou and Tommy Demas.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that was part-time.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided, well, money was kind of tight. And I decided I should work full-time. So I applied at Beneficial Finance, and I got the job, and that was a very nice job too. And then when I got married, then, as I said, I was transferred to Beneficial Finance. Let's see.
And you came back to Jamestown and...
Came back to Jamestown, and we lived with Sam's parents for a little while until we could find a nice apartment. And they were very glad that we moved in with them because little Philip was with us, and they enjoyed having him. And then we decided, really that's kind of hard for them to have 3 more people in the house. We better look for an apartment and be on our own. So Philip and I went apartment hunting when Sam was working one day, and there was an ad in the paper for an apartment on Barrow Street. Very nice street with a lot of Italian people. And I liked the apartment. It was, the owners were Tony and Rose Barlow. And they had just fixed up the apartment. New floors, walls were all painted, just wonderful, for $45 a month. And I thought, gee, now can we afford that? I think we can. So I told her, I said, yeah, I've got to tell my husband about it, but would you, just kind of keep it for half a day or something? I'd let you know. Oh, yes, she said, I'll do that. And yeah, he thought that'd be, he said yes without even looking at it.
Yeah.
And so we moved, and we made a lot of friends up there, and especially Philip. The ladies up there they just loved him. They were like his grandmothers or his aunts or something. And when he got older, he'd like to visit them. And one day, I thought, gee, I better go down and see if he's still in that sandbox. He better come up for lunch. And I went down, he wasn't in the sandbox. And I thought, well, that little urchin, he must have went and visited. So I went over to Clara Oria's, and I said, Clara, have you seen Philip? He was about 4 years old then. Yeah, he was here. He visited me, and then he left. Okay, do you know which way he went? Well, I think he went to the Petersons. It was across the street. Was Philip here? Oh, yeah. I think he went to visit Josephine Constantino. Josephine, is Philip here? He was here, and I gave him some cookies, but he left. Well, I got so nervous. I said, well, I don't, where could he be? So Josephine said, well, I'll try to find him with you. Well, we were right at the end of Barlow's driveway, and out of the screen door comes little Philip with suku sauce all over his mouth. He had decided to go and visit the Barlows, and they were eating supper early. So he sat down and had spaghetti.
Of course. and probably nothing's changed. He's a man about town. That's
so
good.
that was a story about how the neighborhood was.
Sure. It's a great story.
It was wonderful. They looked out for you. We didn't have a car at the time. They made sure that every Friday when they went for groceries at Gold Star Supermarket, that I could go with Philip. Of course, Philip had to come too, And so they would make sure that I got my groceries. It was just great.
That's fabulous. And so while you're kind of raising the three kids there, and was there two, um, was there encouragement then at the time to get a full-time job or to get to go back into the workplace?
I did, but it wasn't full time. I went down to the WCA hospital,
Mhm.
and at that time, the job that I got was a paying job. It was, and now it's a volunteer job, where you take the people upstairs, like if they need an X-ray or if, some sort of treatment or something, I would take them in the wheelchairs and the elevators, and bring them to where they were going to have their treatment. And I was working, I believe it was 3 times a week, maybe 4 hours a night.
Oh, wow. And Sam, what was he doing?
He was a hairdresser.
Okay.
Very good hairdresser.
Right.
And he had gone to Buffalo with friends that also wanted to be in the business. Phil DeMerkel, Marion D'Angelo. We had a friend, Chuck Jaziz. He was the father of them, he kept them in tow. And so when Sam and I got married, we were the only ones from the first ones from the group that got married. And so a lot of the guys just would come over to our apartment and hang out. And I opened the paper tonight, and I was so sad that one of our friends from Buffalo and hung out at our apartment was Maury Paternini.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but we were just a good group of,
Yeah.
And we liked to be together, and that was it.
And then again, we're going to kind of get ourselves at some point to where Sarah Paternity retires at WJTN.
Yes.
There's an opening,
There
and
was an opening, and I went up, and I put my lucky suit on. I had this green flowered suit, and anytime I went for an interview with a job, I got the job. So I put my green flowered suit on, and I was interviewed by George Flieger.
Mhm.
And he said, okay, we'll call you and we'll let you know. He said, you actually are the first person that I've interviewed. So he said, I've got a few more, and I'll let you know. Well, he did call me, and he said that I had to have a second interview by Mr. Carl Willems.
Mhm.
So Carl interviewed me, and that was a little bit harder one. But he didn't say I got the job. He said that they would call me. And then I got another call, and both of them together interviewed me. And at that interview, I was told that I had the job.
what was the job application for?
It was called Traffic Department. And it was not anything with cars and trucks and trains and all that. Traffic was actually the flow of the programs. I had to make the Bible, the log for the announcers. I put the ads where they were, the public service announcements. And that's what they went by. Every day they had a different log And so that actually was traffic.
So the traffic, as I remember looking at those timesheets, for lack of my way to
Milers.
milers, okay, thank you. And, but it would say, 7 a.m. something at 7.
The news, and after the news would be your ads or your public service announcements, and then there would be time for the music, and then there would be, then there would be more ads. And each hour you had to count the amount of time that each ad had, either a 15-second ad, a 30-second ad, a 60-second ad. You had to add them up. And the FCC said, do not go over 18 minutes an hour. That was hard.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so that was my job. And then at the end of the month you did billing. And I did WJTN. And then I had a dear friend, Beverly Piazza, and she had the very same job as I did with the FM station. And it was really nice that I got the job and having a friend, there. And because her and I had been Cub Scout leaders together, and I had it in my home.
Wow.
And so I would have the meeting, the Cub Scout meeting, and then I would be sure that the boys were out by 4:30, that the meeting was over by 4:30. And then I'd walk to work down at the Brooklyn Square for my job that the Demuses had.
And that was for the restaurant factory.
I didn't work in the restaurant part. I was a pizza maker.
Ah.
Boy.
I can remember. It was called the Brooklyn.
Tommy's.
That's it. Yeah. Great vision.
Yeah, I made really good friends there too.
So, but when you started with WJTN, it was at Orchard Road, right? It had left.
They had left the hotel.
Right. And as you were doing the trafficking and interspersing the time, did you write ads also, or was there the people you'd have somebody would sell the ads, then somebody would write the ads, then you'd have to fit them in, or did you actually do some writing as well?
The chief copywriter writing the ads was Mel Weber. Okay. And then she had an assistant, Diane Jordan. And they were just very creative. Yeah. I was thinking, sometimes I had to write maybe a dozen. Then, of course, the people that had the business, they had to okay it. And they had to rewrite it, or they okayed it. And Melvin not only was a copywriter, but she had her own
Radio
program.
personality, yeah.
I believe it. I was thinking, and I think it was called Kaleidoscope. And that was about a lot of community things that were going on. And she also, with that, had Salute to New Americans. And that was all the births that had happened at the hospital. Boy, you wouldn't do that now because the privacy. Yeah.
And so let's do an example so I understand how it works. Just how WJTN, so we hear the end product. Somebody on the radio, Caprinos, for the best, cost less. All the time. But before that, there's somebody like Merrill Rosen going to Joe Caprino at Caprinos and selling him something. We're going to do this kind of something. And then he'd sell it, and then come into the office and sit down with Melva
Yes.
and say, here's a concept.
Melva or Diane.
Yeah.
Usually, I think Meryl liked Melva to do it. Yeah.
Okay. And then come out, here's a crazy idea. Because Meryl had crazy ideas. I worked with Meryl a lot. And so
Meryl, as they say, could sell
Snow-
refrigerators to the Eskimos.
Amen. I mean, we all...
He was at the radio station for, I believe, 50 years.
Mm-hmm. I was on several committees with Meryl, and I loved him for that. But so and then Melva would write up some copy, and Joe would approve it, and then now the copy's ready to be given to the radio personality. I mean, put into traffic, put in there, and then the radio personality would read it, and then it would be on radio. Is that right?
That is exactly right. You could tape it, or they had what they called participation ads. We call them PARS, P-A-R-S. And that was a 60-minute live ad. And they could, they would make sure that Jim did the live ad. They could say who they wanted to do these live ads. And if you did if Jim did get a live ad, then he would get extra money in his pay.
Live ad really meaning that while he's talking, he's reading it live, as opposed to saying a tape. They pull a tape out of the rack and they just plug it in.
I'd make up a book for them for the next day with any live ads. I would put them in the time that they were to be read.
Would you do that for everybody? So I mean, obviously there's so many hours that you're on the air. Did you have to have a log for every hour?
Yes, every hour. There was a book for each day of the week.
So you plugged in. I'm trying to wrap. This is unbelievable. That you're creating for the entire day. There's 60 minutes in an hour. You are accounting for 60 minutes for each hour. For how many hours were you on the air? When would you go on?
We were a 24-hour
24
station.
At night, late at night though, did you just have kind of music? Where was that?
We had a fella actually on the air, Jim Frederick. He was one of our...
Jim Frederick.
Jim Frederick then got a job as dispatcher at...
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I went to school with Jim. I did. Okay.
And,
sorry.
I always wanted to be ahead of everything. I didn't want to go to work and not get everything done. So I would work a lot of nights, and a lot of times when everybody was sleeping, I'd go out and go up to the station at midnight and work on my job. And I could talk to Jim Frederick. He was on all night.
Yeah.
And I got to know him quite well. And I did a lot of work up there when nobody else was there except the announcer.
That's remarkable. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm kind of overwhelmed how much that work has to be done, because you have to be really precise, and then on top of it, at the end of the month, you're counting for the amount of time each ad ran, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, because you're now billing them on an hourly basis. I assume there's a rate. You're going to run Caprinos for so many minutes per month at such a rate. And you got to prove to them you did it. You're not listening to every time you do that, but that's your proof that you did it. Holy cow. remarkable. I don't think many people understand how responsible you were for making that run so smoothly.
You also had to be very careful with some sponsors, with a competitor, not too close to your ad. It really boggles my mind now to watch TV and to see a car dealer here, and then right next to that is a competitive car dealer. They don't care anymore,
It's fun.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think, boy, that didn't go, with me. And I had to be careful. I was told to give at least 15 minutes apart.
Ah.
hmm Sometimes I had to cheat a little bit and make it 10.
Well, car dealerships, they're your big and furniture people.
Yeah. Furniture, car dealer. There was even some clothing stores, and you just had to be very careful. You didn't want to lose it. You didn't want to lose their business. You didn't want them to go down to the other radio station.
Whose call letters we will not name. uh, I knew, as an attorney, got to know very well some of those people, like Joe Caprino, and how much that meant to the station and how important that was. And but Joe would listen very closely. Joe would listen to the radio. I mean, he knew that you were correct or you weren't correct. If you made a mistake, you probably got a call within 10 minutes that Joe.
Yes, he was one of the ones that listened very carefully. And I know I can't say a lot of names, but there was a clothing store, a woman that owned it. She listened very carefully. And one time, I actually cried because I thought she was going to cancel. She called and was very upset that I had put her ad, and then right next to it, I put a PSA, a public service announcement about the American Cancer Society. And she thought that was terrible.
Mm.
And I remember George Fleeger having to console me. Oh, don't cry about that. We'll explain to her that, we didn't realize that would upset her.
One of the things that Phil was very kind to send me 2 or 3 pages of names and personalities, so I didn't have to do research, as Phil would do. That's the kind of guy he is. But things like low box furniture, out of the way, less to pay.
Jack Dunnigan.
And Jack, yep, and of course Barmore Selsom sponsored Dunnigan again, and Super Duper, Days Commercial Station. People, I remember Ellis Day, and I remember the Barmores and Herb Lobach. I think it was Herb Lobach and Joe. And it just brought back memories for me. Mm-hmm. Those jingles, and sometimes they were. That's what they were. Would they be created by? Was that Melva Weber? Was there a creative staff on there?
I would say the majority of jingles was something that the station bought. They were not created in our station.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, it's remarkable. I'm going to give you a bunch. I'm just going to throw some names at you. I want to just the reaction as to who what these people are like, and because these are names I grew up with, but you only knew their voice, you knew their names, never really met them. I mean, other than occasionally, but that was it. Like George Fleeger.
George was program director. Did the news, noon news, 11 o'clock at night news. And I forgot 6 o'clock at night news. Mm-hmm. Very dedicated man, very nice to work with. And Um, that's how I would say George was. I enjoyed working with him very much.
Doc Webster.
Doc was Dennis's father. Doc was early morning. Um, he it was hard for me to get close to Doc. He was a nice man and very talented, but a little distant.
J. Ralph Carlson.
I never really got to know him. He wasn't always there in person when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
He would tape his programs. George Flieger played the organ in back of J. Ralph's programs. But as far as getting to know him, it was just what people had said about him, and it was a real tragic thing on how he died.
How did he die?
He took his life.
Yeah, sorry. Jack Dunnigan.
Oh, Jack was my buddy. I really enjoyed talking to Jack, and he told me a lot of things about Nashville. And Gertrude, I met her, and she was a wonderful woman.
That's his wife, right?
Yeah.
And she died pretty early on.
Yeah. And he was kind of lost after Lena, her name, that was her name on the program, Lena died. He didn't really know if he was going to stay. And of course, I believe it was Cy that talked him into staying. So instead of singing, he played the records, And I think everybody was glad that Jack stayed. And he told things like it was. You couldn't put anything over on Jack.
Yeah.
But he had a good heart. He really did. And so as I say, and my boys worked for Jack. They did different things at his home. Yard work. Right, Phil? Yeah.
And I think, what was his sign off? He had a certain...
I'm done again.
And he had a couple of main sponsors. I think we talked about that, but it was Lobox?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that was his big sponsor. In fact, he did remotes from Lobox.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
And Barbara Sellstrom, I think, was also there. I also have an image of Jack playing at I don't want to say a roadhouse, but there was it Kimball Stand? Does that ring a bell? I mean, I'm seeing an advertising in my head. Listen to Jack Dunnigan at some restaurant.
Mm.
I digress. Hal Martin.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fun.
I was gonna say, is he the character that he portrayed on the radio?
Yeah, he came from the other station, and his one daughter babysat my kids. Really, really nice, friendly guy. Liked him very much.
So I can't even envision that's poaching. I mean, when you go to the radio station of the other name, who we won't mention, and then kind of one of the well-known disc jockeys, and all of a sudden WJTN, how did they kind of reach out to Hal Martin and say, come join us?
I really don't know that.
Yeah.
Maybe more money.
Yeah.
He had a family. Maybe he needed more money. I don't really know.
It's because that was a big deal. I remember that. I remember him going from the station, who we won't name, call letters to WJTN. Pete Hubble.
Pete Hubble, His dad was Ralph Hubble from Buffalo,
Mhm.
and Pete had a wonderful voice, nice, soft voice. Was our sports director. Handsome. um, I'll put him in the nice category.
Okay. Was Max Robinson there then? Or
No.
that was
No,
before
he
that.
was gone when I started.
And Pete had a guy, he did radio, baseball radio with
Skip Pierce.
Skip Pierce. There was one incident that's immortality, and that's when Candid Camera came to Jamestown, and Pete and Skip were broadcasting the game, unbeknownst that it was just a Jamestown Expos game, and it was Candid Camera came out and uh, got a pitcher. I mean, got a pitcher. He never threw the first pitch, and so there was like 10 minutes where they delay this that, and Skip and Pete just were beside themselves. And unbeknownst to Candid Camera, that the radio was going on and all of their kerfuffle, and then ultimately when the Candid Camera was revealed, and can't think of, what am I? Candid Camera. The main guy for Candid Camera was no, Peter Funt. So it was Peter Funt was the kid. So he was the umpire. No, it was Peter Funt was the umpire. You have to see it to believe it. But anyways, Skip. Subsequently, they heard the radio, and they used it. They used the radio broadcast on Candid Camera because it was so good, so funny. They didn't know. They did not know what was going on. They had no clue.
But that's great to hear.
I will make sure you get it so you can show your mother because it's iconic for us in the baseball world. Yeah, Pete and Skip Pierce.
I want to tell you one thing about the station.
Sure.
WJTN and SC93 were known as the Love Nest. A lot of the co-workers got together and 6 couples got married.
Okay.
From working together.
Well, let's name names.
Dennis and Sheila McCarthy.
Sure.
Haphazard and Jan, and I can't remember Jan's maiden name.
Sure.
Pete Hubble and Mary Lockwood/Delin.
Yep.
Jim Roselle and me.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Guy Ditano and Ellen Owen.
Oh, really? That's where it all began?
Mm-hmm. And Andrew Hill and Hope, and I can't remember Hope's maiden name.
Love Nest. Oh, my golly.
I wanted to put that in.
Well, I'm delighted you did because you've answered a couple questions. I wondered how that all happened. Well, there you go. Because we were going to talk about haphazard, he would have those kind of unique perspectives, So what was he like?
Hap was a very, very talented man. Wonderful news, he did the news very professional. We became very good friends with Hap and Jan. We went to a lot of Friday night dinners together. And Jan and Hap would, they would rotate uh, on weekends with Melva and Keith Aldridge,
Keith Aldridge, yes.
having poker night. And I was not a card player, but I went there and watched. And see, I wrote here. Well, they had, it was Jan and Hap, Melvin, Keith, me and Jim, and Marv Baskin from JCC, and they had other friends from JCC that weren't permanent, but they'd come.
Yeah.
And so it was, we just got to be really good friends. It was like family up there. And a lot of the people that worked there had kids the age of my kids, so we do things together.
Sure.
And it just was a good place to work. It wasn't. I have some adjectives that would say what working there or the people. I can't find it right now, but maybe I could. I also wanted to let you know some of the small programs that we had. The early morning devotions,
Right.
With Reverend Westerberg.
Yep, Paul Westerberg.
Mm-hmm. And
He had the voice. The voice.
and like I say, Melva had the program Kaleidoscope, told a lot of the things that were happening in the community. And I did tell you about Salute to New Americans.
Mm-hmm. This is great. Melva, so she not only did copyright, but she also was a radio personality.
Mm-hmm.
And what was she like off the air?
I don't know how to say it. Well, as I say, we became friends with them. She'd tell it anything like it is.
Yeah, I got the sense that she was very precise.
Mm-hmm.
Precision was her name of the game. And had to be in the copyright business.
Mm-hmm.
And her likewise that. Also, I learned from Phil that Manly Anderson worked there. I just figured he was Post Journal for 100 years. Was he? What is he? A news? Was he new part of the news?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was he a radio personality there? I don't remember.
No, he just did the news. Very nice man. Very, very, very good news person. Got along with everybody. I can't ever remember anybody saying that they didn't like Manly.
Well, I knew him for covering all of the business things. I mean, he just wonderful coverage. So if you want to have something well covered, the Industrial Development Agency and all that other stuff, Manly was the guy who could do the article and understand it, could actually articulate it, and never wanted to create controversy. He just didn't do that. He just presented it in a straightforward way. Terry Frank also was one of your news people. Kind of later on, did Terry come?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still there. Actually, he's kind of the last of the Mohicans, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yeah, his dad just passed. Yeah, Terry was a very devoted son to his mom and dad.
Yes, no question. Now I remembered. I don't know if he was he did a lot more than just Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, but was Ray Wheeler. Was that his role, or did he have anything else to do with WGT?
Not that I know of. To tell you the truth, I don't think I've ever said 2 words to Ray Wheeler. I just never really got to talk with him or anything.
Well, the more I think about it, my image, this is my age showing here, was probably here at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people climb up or take the elevator to go into his hour-long scout show or something. So it's probably, I don't even, maybe he didn't even do it when you were up at...
Oh, I think he probably did.
Okay. Then aside from the radio personalities, and we're going to bypass Russ Dietrich because he's too obvious. I mean, he's just one of the great guys of all time. I mean,
And very good friend of Jim.
yes. Oh, my golly. I mean, just glove in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But behind the scenes, you know, there's the boss. There's the big guy, Cy Goldman.
Yeah.
Did
The
you have
little
much
guy.
of a, yeah, yeah. Did your paths cross with him a lot?
Not a lot, but if you had an idea or you had a question, and he was in the hall, it was a good time to grab him to
Right.
talk, you know. And he'd want to listen, but he wanted to keep walking. So you walk behind him and you tell him what you wanted to, and oh yeah, and he would keep on walking, and then he said, okay, well, I'll let you know on that. But yeah, I think he was a great guy,
Yeah.
very honest person, and I enjoyed working for him.
Carl Willems, I knew his daughter, but Carl, was he the station manager, or what was his role there?
Yeah, I think he was general manager.
General manager?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And you went to him if you wanted a raise or had something that was bothering you, or something that you wanted to let him know that you thought was great that was going on.
Right.
Anything like that.
Right. So he seems like the guy that probably was at the station. I mean, physically there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I know just Cy's,
Sidekick.
well, yeah, and also Cy would be on the golf course a lot. He would.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you worked. It was his business. Was hustling right there. Chuck Telford, was he sales?
Yes, he was. Good salesperson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did they have sales meetings? Did you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they had them at the station, and a lot of times there for a while they were meeting at Davidson's. Mm-hmm.
There was a guy named Big Guy Saraki.
Larry Saraki, another one of
Was
my
he tall? Was he big guy?
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
another one of my buddies.
Was he Larry?
I remember when he got the job, he didn't have a car.
Huh.
He came on a motorcycle. And finally, I guess he got a few paychecks, and then he got a car.
There we go.
He was a good salesperson. He was a good person. He was a good family man. Mm-hmm.
Were you ever brought into sales meetings with them at all?
Yes, and they, like, Mr. Goldman and Merrill Rosen were really good to me, because sometimes I was bored with my job. You know, it was the same thing all the time. And I thought to myself, I have ideas, and I think I could sell.
Mm-hmm.
So I went, and it was Mr. Willems I asked. I said, could I please sell, like, maybe some of the games, the high school games or something? Well, he said, I don't know if that would be fair to the salespeople. I would have to see what they thought. Well, they said, okay. They didn't think I would be able to do it. I did pretty good. I took things under rocks. You know what I mean? And I sold some things that they didn't think about or
Right,
that they couldn't get. And so I made a little bit of extra money on that.
Oh, well, there you go. Terrific.
Hmm.
Did you write copy too?
I wasn't too good at it. I don't think I could do that.
Neil Trainer, what was his role?
He was in sales.
Sales?
Yes, very good salesperson. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's funny how outside of work, Neil was a referee. I mean, he was a basketball referee.
Um.
And it may have been other things too, football, I don't know. But that's how you'd see him on the court.
Uh-huh.
Neil Trainer.
Oh.
You may not even known that. That's a side gig
Mm-hmm.
going on. And then there's Merrill Rosen, who could sell snow to an Eskimo.
And his daughter and my daughter were very good friends all the way from elementary school, even now. And nice family. And yeah, Miro was a very, very good salesperson and a good person.
I got to know him. We were on the board together for many years, 30-some years, at the Resource Center.
Oh,
Because he had a developmentally disabled child. So we really got to know each other well. But boy, I learned a lot of just sales. Sales. It was unbelievable. Then you had all kinds of things like the Swedish Hour.
Yep, another buddy of mine. I'd love to go and visit him.
Jerry?
Yeah.
You gotta make time for that, though.
Yeah, and yeah, he was a real good guy, and also the other the Italian Hour and the Spanish Hour.
Yes, I'm looking at that. I remember the names. Albert Angelini at the Italian Hour, right? And Nick Rodriguez, Spanish Hour.
Yeah.
And I noted this to Phil, and I'll just tell you that the major sponsor for the Swedish Hour was Carlson's Viking Food, and that was my grandfather and my uncle was the Carlson Viking Food. So
Oh.
Henry Carlson, that was my family.
Well, that's interesting.
So while you were having the Maisto Bilgrens, you could have a little bit of everything there. At least get the Corv and the
Yep.
silt on silt from there. I'm anxious to see what's in your book. You made notes, and I want to make sure that we capture the notes. So as you're reading there, take your time, but I suspect there's a vignette that we've just not...
Well, I just thought it was interesting for you to know that Doc Webster was there 21 years. And then Dennis Webster, he just retired.
Mhm.
And he actually started when he was a junior in high school.
Wow.
We talked about Melvin, we talked about the poker night. And we didn't talk about Jim a lot.
We will.
Okay, we're going to talk about him. And I told you about the Love Nest. And so when we talk about Jim, we'll talk about the Heart Radiothon. We didn't talk about the Tuesday night cookouts.
No.
And that was another way that I wanted to do something different. And I asked if I could help out with that. Well, Mary Knoll was the girl that was the chief cook and bottle washer with the Tuesday night cookouts. And so we rotated. And what we did is picked up all of the supplies for the cookout. And then we cooked the pizza, and then sometimes it was Hal Martin, sometimes it was Jim, sometimes it was Jack Dunnigan. And they would make the hot dogs and the hamburgers. I then me or Mary would set up the table and, serve it. And then the announcer would tape the program, have the guests and the host and hostess.
It was at their house. I mean, you selected a home or someplace, didn't you?
They sent in cards, and then a card would be picked each time.
Okay. And then you'd go to their house.
To their house.
How many people would normally show up for that cookout?
I wrote that down. I kind of had forgotten. You have to ask me again.
10, 15, was it, I assume?
Yeah, there probably was about 15 people.
Yeah. And you had remote floats.
Yes. That was very popular.
And it was a pontoon boat? What was that?
I don't know what kind of boat. I'm
not
into boats. It was a boat that went on the lake.
My golly. And then, so they would actually do the broadcast?
Oh, yeah. And then they would have food for the people, and it was nice. It was very nice.
Yeah. And were you part of the Saturday breakfast parties as well?
Not too much, but when I could, I'd ask if I could work there. That's David.
We've met before.
Yeah, I asked if I could work on it whenever.
So, but that went on forever, right? Who started that Saturday breakfast party? Do you remember?
I think the very first announcer was George Fleeger.
Okay.
I think. But then there was somebody, as I remember, that always was kissing the women. Got kisses from the women.
It's a good gig.
I can't remember who that was. Might have been.
Well, it wasn't Dennis, so you wouldn't. That's
no.
That's not his style. But Larry Knoll would play. Wouldn't he play the organ?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mary's husband.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Tuesday night cookouts was about 20 years. I think it went on for about 20 years. And the Heart Radiothon.
Talk about that. That was for years.
I think at the end, if I remember right, I think they made about $750,000.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What was the genesis behind that? I mean, there are so many charities that obviously they focused in on heart.
I don't know.
Was there somebody in the family that perhaps?
Not that I don't really know how that started. But I worked on that too.
Yeah.
I manned the phones for that. We talked about Jack and Gertrude and the cookouts. We just said that.
This is great.
Yeah, the cookouts lasted 20 years. And the Times of Real Life, we'll probably talk about that. When I worked there, there were probably about 30 plus people working there, part-time and full-time.
Right.
And now, there's about 9 people. There's Lee John. There's Andrew Hill, who's the general manager. There's Shirley Weilacker, and she's business manager. The salespeople are Jim Yezzi. There's a Jamie Trussler I haven't met, and a Tommy Gerasi. Terry Frank, news director, and the only person in the newsroom.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Dan Warren, and that's about it. That's the staff.
Yeah. Without commenting, it's different. It's just different. All right, let's. We got to. You handed me the book, Jim Roselle, The Best Times of My Life at WJTN Chautauqua Institution. Jim Roselle, with Walt Pickett, an introduction by Mark Roselle. I'm going to make sure you sign this before you leave. You met him there. Did you meet him at the station?
No,
Did you
I
know
didn't
before?
meet him there because he did the sock hops.
Yeah, of course.
And there was 15 years difference between me and Jim.
So the
So
sock
I
hop
was
for, you should explain that for the camera because not everybody will know that. I do. But sock hops, where were they and what was that? What
he
was
did them 3 different places. He did them at St. James Church. He did them at St. Peter and Paul. And he did them at Midway.
Midway.
And so I kind of got to know Jim a little bit from there. I wasn't really allowed to go to many sock hops. My dad didn't really believe in me going there for some reason. But then there was a very nice man, Mr. Ventura,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a daughter my age that liked to go to the sock hops. And he told my dad that he would drive as many girls as he could, to the sock hops and bring them home, make sure that they were safe. So then when Mr. Ventura drove, I was allowed to go, and then of course I got to know Jim.
Yeah. Because certainly they publicized greatly Midway Park. I mean that was an advertisement, And as I recall, sock hop was he was the disc jockey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean he'd play records.
Mm-hmm. He played all the favorite music that all the girls and guys wanted.
And how long? Normally, was it a 2-hour event? Do you know? Was it?
Yeah, I would say about that. Mm-hmm.
And he'd have to lug up the rack of records and play those 45s.
Yeah, his little suitcase is full of records. His 45s.
Did he have a name for himself, or was it Jim Roselle? And
Oh, no, it was just Jim. Yeah, Jim wasn't like that. He was Jim Roselle.
Yeah.
That was it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, did he wear anything? Did he have any shirts?
No, he had his blazer. And he always liked to look nice.
Yeah.
He always, yeah, he had his blazer on. He had his dress pants.
So that was your first.
I don't remember Jim ever wearing jeans until I don't know how old he was. We probably were married 20, 25 years before he bought his first pair of jeans. Yeah.
Very forward.
Always liked to look nice.
So that's how you first saw him or met him, and of course he's working for WJTN at the time. And then how much time lapses until you work at WJTN? Because you started in 1971.
71.
Okay. And so and that's where you kind of professionally met with each other because you're both there. And you're as far as professionally at the station, you were the traffic person and Jim's the radio personality. Did the preparation for his program, did you involve yourself in that other than hand him the traffic sheet?
As I said, there was a book for every day.
Yeah.
So Doc Webster was the first one to open up the station, and so he went through started at the first page of the book and went through his program, and then Jim had his morning show, and everything was in there for him as far as live um, ads, but the log was separate.
Yeah.
So then, they would just have to go through the log until it was until it was the next person's time.
So then whoever would take over at the mic there'd be a transition. Doc Webster would be done. Jim had the morning show, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Did he always have the morning show?
No, he had the afternoon show.
Or did he?
Mm-hmm.
Then what was, in the early days, let's say in 1971 or 2, Doc Webster opened it up, and then what's the sequence of announcers? Do you remember? After Doc signed off.
That's a tough one.
Who was next? Remember?
Then I think Jim got the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So he just on a normal day. I mean, he's on the air at 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
What time did he have to get up and get out? I mean, was he up at 4 and was there?
Yeah, just about 4:30. Yeah.
And have his cup of happiness.
Yeah.
Did he always refer to that?
But later on, when his show, I believe, started at 8:30, and he'd meet the guys at McDonald's for coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
He'd talk about that. Yeah. When did he start that cup of happiness? That. Do you remember that? Was that?
I don't know really how that got started. Of course, he loved coffee, and he always tried to think of something,
Yeah.
And it was Cup of Happiness in Garduni.
Garduni sandwich. Did you ever have it? Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. Garduni, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I wish May is the month to pick Garduni. And I had a very dear friend that I worked with at the restaurant, Josie Borton. She's deceased now. And her and I would go and pick Garduni.
Such a great name.
Her maiden was Domenico. Nice Italian girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'd bring it home, and you'd have it was hard to make that. You had to clean it, you had to brush it, you had to boil it, and then and then you had and then you made egg and breadcrumbs, and you rolled it in that, and then you fried it. But there was a restaurant down on Steel Street, Belandi's Bar.
Okay.
And Helen Belandi was related to my mother. And she would make bushels of Garduni. And my mom and dad would go down there and have it, mostly on Friday nights, because it was substitute for fish. A lot of people thought it tasted like fish. I didn't think it did. But anyway, how did we get on that?
I don't know, but I love the name, and you're right. Jim talked about the Garduni this, Garduni that. And just an aside, but down by
so Jim had the Cup of Happiness and Garduni. I don't know who it was, but they were talking back and forth, and then this person had an idea on it, and Jim had another, and so Jim said, "I'll bet you a Garduni sandwich that I'm right." And then he kept on doing that with people. "I'll bet you a Garduni sandwich." And there was a woman, I can't remember her name now, but I think she owned Lakeview Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
And she would make Garduni sandwiches, and she'd bring them to Jim right in the station. She'd bring them, and so then his audience got to know about Garduni sandwiches, and they'd ask about it. Well, what does it taste like, and this and that and the other. So I got this idea, and I said, so I asked Cy Goldman. I said, "Can I have a Garduni party here?" And he said, "I I've heard of that. What's that all about? And I said, Science, they're really good. And I said, but, if we could have like an outdoor picnic, sort of like, and have the audience, anybody come, and they would learn what Garduni is all about. So I went to talk to Charlie Vogel. He had Vogel's restaurant. Oh, he was all for it. He was a wonderful guy. We went to that restaurant a lot with Jan and Hap. That was Jan and Hap's favorite restaurant. And he said, well, how many do you think will come? And I said, gee, I just really don't know. But I said, what we'll do is we'll invite the sponsors. And then we, announce it over the radio that we're going to have this Garduni party. And any listener could come.
Sure.
We had over 200 people. And Charlie and his wife made all the Garduni. I think they had 2 bushels of Garduni. And I can't remember who picked all of that. I didn't pick it. I was just the big head honcho. I was in charge of it. So anyway, whoever picked it and whoever cleaned it and whoever boiled it and whoever fried it. And it just turned out to be the most fun thing. And a lot of people, it was their very first time that they had it. And his Grandma Nelbone made Garduni. And another very popular thing with Italians is dandelion greens.
Wow. Don't you make some wine out of dandelion?
Yeah.
Dandelion wine? Was that a song?
Yeah, but I don't think anybody in our family made dandelion wine. It was the grapes.
Yeah. That's great. So what, and back to Jim, we know he was such a prolific interviewer, but it was a different kind of interview. It was one where he'd actually did a lot of research.
Oh.
A tremendous amount. And I remember seeing him when he'd get done with Chautauqua in the morning, he would be at the library in the afternoon. That's where if you want to find Jim Roselle, find him there. Because he sort of knew who was at Chautauqua that week. And I suspect you helped him with just prepping for a lot of that, because that's a lot of work.
I didn't help him very much with Chautauqua things. I helped him and Russ with the Times of Your Life.
Okay.
But you're talking about reading. See this table here, this top of the table? Well, you couldn't see what kind of wood it was at our house. It had all kinds of books on it.
Really? Yeah. Good for him. Well, that.
He'd read at night, for his next interview. He'd get it, bring him home from the library.
It was just a terrific source of knowledge, and the interviewees were always appreciative of that. It wasn't just the softball stuff. It was really well researched. And at times I took advantage of Jim. There'd be some person who was law related that was going to be on his program, and I couldn't get them down to the Jackson Center. But I just put my little tripod right by Jim's speak, and he would work me in to do the interview, like I was co-interviewer. So he was wonderful and encouraging for letting me get access to the Attorney General or something that he had on the program, and I knew I couldn't get access any other way. But so yeah, I took advantage of Jim. He was, and of course he did a lot of wonderful stuff here at the Jackson Center, which was great. We've used that a lot. Was it? Did he find that as that progress at the end? He was certainly iconic. He was an institution. Chautauqua embraced him as part of their program, but I suspect that wasn't always the case. He was sort of a guy outside the gates who sort of showed up to steal content. I mean, I'm being a little, maybe that's overstating it, but essentially, if people wanted to hear that person, they could come inside Chautauqua, pay their gate fee, or Jim's broadcasting, and I just wonder how they cooperated. Did he get us? Did he get us? Was there a sense of always cooperation, or did he have to work a little bit harder than in the early days?
I think right from the beginning that he had a lot of cooperation with Dr. Bratton and the others in Chautauqua.
That's good. That's great. That
I don't
speaks
remember
volumes.
any big problem.
Okay.
Jim was always thinking how he could make his program better, what he could do differently. He didn't want to just, go there and have the same thing every day.
Yeah. Well, it's just he's had so many years at WJTN, and of course to have a second chapter, to have a second piece where you're known not only as the voice of JTM and the personality of WJTM, but be the personality of Chautauqua. I mean, that's hard to have a second act, and really he did. He was able to accomplish that, and it was impossible to replicate once he didn't. I know that was Dennis tried for a few years, but just hard. He was such a...
I know. I kind of felt bad that, with Dennis. I know he tried very hard, but I think the people were just so used to Jim that, they didn't want change. But what could you do?
Well, yeah, exactly. Did Jim accept the fact that, at some point as his health kind of deteriorated a little bit and not being on the air as much, was that hard for him to... I mean, that was his life. He'd get up every morning. Was that...
Yes, I think it was very hard for him.
Yeah.
But everybody there was so helpful. The engineer made it possible for him to do part of his show from home.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked out quite well.
Yeah.
And he still got his sponsors, and he was happy with that.
Yeah.
And they were happy with it.
Of course, of course. As you, I'm sure you do occasionally reflect on WJTN, but you ever reflect on the Kathy Roselle legacy of WJTN? I mean, we talk about Jim Roselle, he's got a book, got everything else, but the lady behind the man, you were the person who trafficked for 30-some years, very successful commercial radio. Does that ever strike you as what an influence you had?
No. I just went to work, did my job, but I always, like I said, I wanted to do something else, and I learned a lot from Jim, and he helped me. Like I say, I helped him and Russ with Times of Your Life. I got ideas. I called people. I organized some programs, and I was really happy with that. And it helped them. They could just do the program. Everything was set up for them.
They played so well together. I mean, Jim and Russ, they really did.
Yeah.
And it was always just a delight to do, and I'm glad, as we've often done here at the Jackson Center, you're capturing a moment in time. You're capturing history to be preserved. And you would get people who are interesting personalities, but also sometimes they're interesting businesses or something that had gone by and by, but it was so much part of the fabric of our community. But you preserved all that. And you were able to permit that to be preserved. So we thank you. So you came down here today, probably reluctantly, but you came down. You did it. I'm proud of you. And was there a question that you were thinking about that maybe Greg would ask that Greg hasn't asked yet?
No, I I think you asked a lot about the personalities and um, the different programming, and that's why I made some notes on things I thought you'd ask me. Um, did we talk? Yeah, we talked about the Saturday breakfast party. Um, Tuesday night cookouts. Um, Times of your life. Uh, I think we hit it. I think we hit it right on the nail.
Well, as
And
being not much of a carpenter, I often don't hit it on the nail, so I'm delighted that you said that.
we talked about the salespeople. G. Ralph Carlson. Yeah. You know, after 33 years, there's just so many things. And I was always so proud of that station.
Mm-hmm.
And I still am. But I think back when I was there, they did more, we did more. I think it was more um, working with the community, getting to know more people um, than now, you know. Of course, I think all radio stations are having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
And Chautauqua County having a hard time getting, I think radio's getting sponsors. There's very few mom and pop places now, and if there is, they don't have the budget to advertise,
Right.
which is sad.
But on the contrary, you made us happy here today. You, Kathy Roselle, by coming in here today, sharing your story, and giving us an inside look.
Well,
Thank
I hope
you.
I did okay.
You did wonderful, and the only thing you have to do is to sign this Jim Roselle book, and then I will take it. I've never seen the hardback. This is fantastic.
Okay.
So thank you. Thank you, Phil, for making this a reality. And Dave, thanks for bringing Phil. Make sure he gets here. Here we go. Here's a pen.